Partners of sleep talkers or sleepwalkers, what gems have you to share? My wife will tell me the next day when I do this. Her favorite story to tell is that she woke up in the middle of the night to find me slowly walking out of our bedroom. Wife, are you okay? What are you doing? Me, there's somebody downstairs in the kitchen, unrolling the tinfoil. Wife, okay. What's your plan? Me, I'm going to stop them. Wife, shall we get a bit more sleep then both go down together? Me, okay. And I went back to bed. Subsequent investigations found a small plastic bag on the floor, near my head, being rustled by the movement of the curtain, the window being open. It's really interesting how sometimes subtleties in the environment like this can make their way into our dreams. My BF talks in his sleep so often that I keep a log. One of my favorites was when he said very casual, "Is this the cruisy crab?" "No, this is Patrick," and then repeated when I asked. Not my current partner but my ex-boyfriend sometimes talks in his sleep, and the funniest story was this one time I was still up reading a book and I hadn't noticed that he was already asleep next to me. Suddenly he bursts out, "Will you just give me the fucking yogurt already, Shannon?" in a flawless British accent, and scares the shit out of me. We're both German and none of our first languages include English. We didn't know a Shannon. He's lactose intolerant. Back in army there was a guy who sleep talked a lot. Once he sat up and said, "Suck rocks." Other time when I was adding more wood to wood stove he sat up and with a distressed voice repeated, "No." I froze for a sec, waited for him to go back to sleep and continued heating the tent. My boyfriend woke me up the other day by gently putting his fingers in my mouth, and I kept moving my head out of the way until eventually I was like, "Can you stop that?" He then sounded genuinely upset and asked why I woke him up, as he was having a really nice dream about feeding a deer. Brilliant. Oh my heck, I had something similar happen. I'd gotten up to use the bathroom and our soap is lemon scented. When I had just gotten back to sleep, I woke up to my husband trying to eat my fingers. He said he was dreaming of eating lemon heads. It was the middle of the night and boom, my husband smacked me in the face with a pillow and shouted, "Fucking whore." I panicked obviously and was like, "WTF was that? What, you just smacked me with a pillow? Huh? Go back to sleep." My aunt likes to tell the story about her and my cousin sharing a hotel room one time. My aunt woke up having to pee, and found my cousin sitting up in bed with her arms folded across her abdomen, kind of rocking back and forth and giggling quietly. When my aunt asked her what she was doing, my cousin said, "I'm holding a baby and it has an adult smile." I found this story deeply unsettling. I literally have so many. My husband will sometimes seem as if he's woken up in the middle of the night, except he's still asleep, and if I'm up reading or something we have these weird, brief little conversations that he doesn't remember having. I usually keep track of them on my notes app, so I'll just post a few. They were each on separate occasions and unrelated to each other. Oh, gee willikers. Merry Christmas to me. Me, are you okay? Yeah, look at the size of this box. Me, yeah, it's a huge box. I know, it's making me grow. Me, where, like in your pants? No laughing, my side mirrors on the truck. What is wrong with you? I swear, sometimes lyst, so how many pillows did you put on this side of the bed exactly? Me, I don't know. I didn't put any over there. So you don't remember? Me, no, I'm sorry. That's okay babe. I just wish I knew how many. Wakes up out of a dead sleep. Are you Buzz Lightyear? Me. What? Am I? H. I don't know. I can't remember. Me. Yeah, I'm Buzz Lightyear. To infinity and beyond, brother. H. No, it's not. Me. You're right, it's not. H. Huh. Me. You're right, it's not. H. What's not? Me. You said no, it's not, and I'm agreeing with you. H. I said, was I snoring? Me. No, you didn't. Laughing H. Yes, I did. Don't be like that, LYST, you'll make me cry. Me. I'm sorry, you're right. You asked if you were snoring. So this one time while my S/O was sleeping, she randomly reaches over and starts to pet my leg softly. When I ask her what she's doing, she looks at me like I'm stupid and says, "What does it look like?" I'm petting this fluffy baby penguin. Then pauses for a second, pats my leg again and blurts, Wait, this isn't a penguin." I have never laughed so hard over someone talking in their sleep. Edit. Thanks for the awards, kind strangers. I once was talking to my mom as she fell asleep. I asked her if olives were Jesus's favorite fruit or vegetable or whatever it is. She started by saying, "I heard somewhere that Jesus," mumbled a whole bunch and went silent. I rolled over and tried to go to sleep. Then out of nowhere, I heard somewhere that Jesus liked Granny Smith apples. I laughed so hard that she woke up laughing, asking what she said. She knows she sleep talks. My wife started screaming one night that she was lost in the local grocery store, and that no matter where she went she couldn't find her way out. I asked her, has she tried checking out at the cash registers? She then looked at me and said in her most sincere voice, "That's why you are the smartest person I know." And she rolled over and fell back asleep. One night, my boyfriend woke me up in the middle of the night, tapping me on my shoulder. He put his finger on his mouth, whispered "shush" to me, then pointed at the door and told me, "I can hear something, don't move." Predictably, I nearly shit my pants. All the worst possible scenarios crossed my mind, and the moment of silence after he shushed me felt like hours. Then, he started waving his hands and talking about Tetris, the twirlies, I don't know, and making sure we don't align. And that's how I learned my boyfriend talks in his sleep. I was watching TV once when my sister came out of her room, and shoved her pillow in a kitchen drawer. After that she crossed the living room, opened the front door and said, "They're almost here." She closed the door, and went back to her room. It was my first experience with sleepwalking, and scared the complete shit out of me. As far as I am aware, that is the only incident she has ever had. Not my partner, but my brother walked in my room and I asked him what he was doing and he mumbled, "Going to the bathroom," and pissed in my laundry basket. Heck yes. Please take a seat. My wife was an avid sleep talk for a long time, and her midnight announcements range from simple single words to elaborate speeches. The ones that really stand out to me are waking up in the middle of the night to her suddenly sitting violently up in bed, throwing back the covers, and screaming, "Tarantula. That will make you very awake, very quickly." Whispering my name repeatedly, which woke me up so she could share in a hushed, cautious voice, "There is an alligator in here." When I expressed my concern, playing along, she told me, still whispering, that it's okay. It has been here before. But my all-time favorite was when, from her perspective as she later explained, she was dreaming that I was playfully sneaking up on her and she saw me and was calling me on it. From my perspective, my wife sat up in the middle of the night, starting into the darkest corner of the room, and said repeatedly in a soft sing-song voice, I see you. My flipping blood froze. TLDR, my wife is terrifying. Edit 1, thanks for the awards. I am glad this has managed to make some people laugh/cry at work. My grandfather was a hard sleep talker. My grandmother has a funny story. One day my grandfather while sleeping was saying, "Do I punch this asshole?" My grandmother replied, "Yeah, punch him." Then my grandfather in his sleep punched her. I woke up one night when my husband started flailing around in the bed. It shocked me and I shouted, "What's wrong?" Then he punched me in the face. I yelled out and started crying. Then he woke up and shouted, "What's wrong?" He dreamt he was being chased and then turned round and punched them. My mum, who is in her 80s, often falls asleep in her chair while I'm visiting her. She sleep eats. Not real food, but she goes through the motions of holding a plate and bringing food to her mouth. It's hilarious watching her. I asked her once if it was nice and she said yes, it's very tasty. Edit to thank folks for the awards. I really like the flow of this conversation, and I know that this is completely unrelated, but the reason it stands out to me is because this is exactly how you're supposed to respond to someone who's delusional or someone who has Alzheimer's or dementia. There's no reason to challenge what they say or to make them explain themselves or to say they're wrong. Just say something calming to reassure them. But everything's ready. Sounds like we're okay then. If you were speaking to someone with severe delusions or advanced aging issues, this would be textbook and beautifully done. Edit. Since people are noticing this, I thought I would add that after giving it some thought, you don't have to be extremely delusional for this flow of conversation to work well and be very helpful. I experience mild delusion when my mania increases to psychosis. I have bipolar too. When it's at its absolute worst, I might have a thought like, "Oh, it's a beautiful day outside today. It must have been because of that song I listened to earlier," mildly assuming my taste in music has directed the weather for the day. If I made a comment about that out loud and someone said to me, "That's impossible and you're delusional," it would make me feel highly embarrassed and also make me question reality for a moment, which is extremely uncomfortable and unsettling. And completely unnecessary unless I'm about to do something stupid. My mom sleepwalks sometimes. When she was in the middle of her residency, she came into my room in the middle of the night and sharply asked, "Did you give patient her dose of medication like I asked you to 15 minutes ago?" I groggily replied, "Who? What?" She just huffed and said, "Well, I guess that answers my question," before turning around and leaving. Without closing the door, of course. She didn't remember a thing about it the next morning. What is it with moms never closing bedroom doors? It transcends age, race, location, and all other demographics imaginable. If you're a mom, bedroom doors do not close. It is the way. To the moms reading this, be the change. I used to sit long hours with at-risk, mostly dementia and schizophrenia, patients in a hospital, as per my job duties. What you say is totally true, because confrontation leads to agitation. I remember one sweet older woman I sat with, who had schizophrenia. "I'm not sure," and she would say some random things. I'd respond with pretty random but thematic things. She'd move the theme a bit and say more random stuff on that newish theme. I'd do the same. She'd raise a drawing of Snoopy in the air. I'd exclaim, "Snoopy," we'd repeat. Working with an older man with dementia, who used to be an English teacher, we would give him papers to grade and blankets to fold. When he was done folding a blanket, he'd move on to another, and I'd just mess up that blanket again and ask him to fold it when he was done with the other one. It seems mean, but it isn't. Compassion takes on a lot of forms, and some of those forms don't even resemble compassion, but that's exactly what they are. If that man runs out of blankets to fold, or papers to grade, You know what he does next? He attempts to break out of his hospital room, go out the nearest exit, and combat anyone who tries to stop him. I've been told that, as a child, my father would regularly sleepwalk into his dad's bedroom and urinate in his work shoes. I once did that to my sister as a kid. I slept in a different place than I normally was. When she woke up, because of what I was doing, she found me, in her closet, pissing on her shoes. She yelled my name, and for me to stop. I yelled back something like "Shut up. Get out of here." She then yelled that I was in her closet, pissing on her expensive shoes. I finally came to and freaked out, clamped it off, and ran to the bathroom. Icing on the cake. Her then BF, now husband, said she could probably just rinse them out. I apparently filled both shoes. There was no rinsing. This story gets brought up at every family gathering. He got up, went into the kitchen and ate one bite of a mini pecan pie, no fork, just a straight bite, then apparently remembered he hates pecan pie and left it stacked neatly on the little box. Another time he sat up and stared straight ahead at the wall, didn't respond to me asking what was wrong. He stood up, walked into the wall, then stood there like he was contemplating the barrier. He just backed up exactly as he came, sat down and swung back into bed like nothing happened. That was creepy. I was in my brother's room watching TV with him and he ended up falling asleep. He mumbled something about Arizona and when I asked what he said he didn't respond. Then a few minutes later he sits up, squints his eyes and just scans the room back and forth. I asked if he was okay and he laid back down and went back to sleep. I still don't know what he was scanning the room for, but it creeped me out. Not a partner, but 1 o'clock in the morning I got a phone call from my friend in the next street. My 6-year-old daughter had just knocked on her door and then walked in mumbling about not being able to do her sums. I raced up there and walked home with her, put her back to bed, and she didn't wake up or remember a thing the next day. By the next night our house was like Fort Knox. Reminds me of my sleepwalking incident. When I was that age, my babysitter was out walking with her boyfriend at 10 p.m. and found me curled up, sleeping on the sidewalk a block away from our house. They picked me up and brought me home, and apparently I had turned on every light as I left. Fort Knox? After that incident, my dad had to climb through the kitchen window if he had to work late. All the doors had latches out of my reach. He started shouting that he couldn't feel his left arm. I pointed out he was pinching his pillow, not his arm. He then freaked out that he had lost his arm. I pointed out his arm was under his pillow. He said okay and started snoring. It took me another hour to get back to sleep. He didn't wake up at all. Edit, Blimey went to bed and this went crazy overnight. Thanks to those who reached out in concern to check on his health. He participated in a sleep study and it was found to be stress related. Luckily not sleep apnea. Also, he did wake up, just not until morning. Didn't realize I'd phrased it in such a way that people thought he'd died. My mom tells a story about a time she fell asleep with her arm above her head. It lost circulation and dropped onto her chest, but she had no feeling in it since it fell asleep. When it flopped on her chest, she woke up and tried to throw her asleep arm, screaming that a dead hand had fallen on her. Oh man, not my partner but my brother. I was watching The Exorcist with my dad and my brother, and at the beginning of the movie, some archaeologists find a little statue that releases the devil or something. Anyway, we finish the movie, and my brother falls asleep on the other couch, so my dad and I just watch another movie. The second that movie ended, my brother sat bolt upright and walked to the middle of the room asking where's the statue, And we're like, what statue? And he's going, the statue. The statue. Eventually he makes a motion with his hands like he's picking something up, moves it over about a foot, and then puts this imaginary statue back down. He went right back to sleep again after. My dad and I just looked at each other like, what the fuck just happened, but we got a great laugh out of it. Roommate freshman year of college was a sleepwalker / sleep talker. We were in the freshman dorms, small little room. I woke up one night and saw him sitting straight up on the side of the bed just staring at me, eyes fully open, just talking gibberish about golf. He was going on about Phil Mickelson or some shit. Have to be honest, it was creepy as all hell because he was staring directly into my eyes. Next morning, I told him about it and he just laughed and said, "Sorry, I tend to do that from time to time." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment Reddit Story Time for more Reddit stories.